So, slowly we hear us. How are you doing today, everyone? All good? I had a cake called Bienenstich in Germany. I don't know if the English translation is correct, so let me check. Bienenstich English, that would be bee sting? Yeah, bee sting cake is the name. Very sweet with a lot of honey on top of it. Like, very nice. Really enjoy it. Is it possible to write backend on Dart? Sure. The package for that I can recommend is Shelf. The Shelf package is one option there. And if you are running it not with Shelf, then there was former Aqueduct, but it has changed to Conduit, I think. Conduit Dart. The benefit of Conduit is that it runs multiple instances, which is pretty awesome. But I'm not sure how mature it is at the moment. Actually, I enjoy Qubit a lot. It's very close to a provider at the end, and I really liked and enjoyed to work with it. Advice: you can check out Crash Course app. Flashcards, they are pretty amazing. Crash Course app. Crash Course app. Flashcard. From Brainscape? Or is it an app? Ah, it's an own app. Oh, nice. That's a cool concept. Thank you for the hint. I will add that to my favorites. It would be great if this would be known from me during my study time. I see right now that the chat box is a little bit too low. No? Good. Okay, so it's 4 o'clock. I think we can start slowly with the stream today. So for everyone who didn't follow the full live stream session since Monday, a lot has happened. So we created our own GitHub project. We pushed information up there. We created a project for it. We have created a small application with for flashcards where we can translate things. And last time we connected everything also with Google Sheets. So if you go down in the video description, we have a link to Google Cloud or Google Drive. And inside of there, we all are now able to create new flashcards and flashcard courses that we can read. And with that, we have the possibility to enter our own knowledge. And with that, we can then link that with the flashcard system. At the moment, I don't have a large plan on how to make it better, but we have some features that we want to implement today. And this course comes to everyone. So if you have questions or any kind of feedback, we learn everything together. So if I don't know, I will not know everything and cannot explain you everything, but I will try my best, and we will take a look into different packages, like for example, the Google APs package now. And we want to talk about how to implement our solution at the end so that we have probably a finished solution, Flashcard app that we can directly use and play with. Okay, everything is written in Flutter and Dart, and is there anything left? I don't think so. So maybe we can swap already to the other screen. Oh, that's weird colored. So let me check if I can fix that quickly. Okay, it's a little bit green. Aha, now we got it. But now I don't see anything on my monitor, which is also not that good. Huh? No? Aha. Okay, it took a while, but now we have the monitor connected and I can see everything. Great stuff. Sorry for the technical issues. Would be too easy if everything works smooth. And what we did yesterday is we created a flashcard service where we had the connection with the so-called sheet repository and things like that. And the last thing we wanted to do, or where we stopped yesterday, we're writing tests. We finished already the tests for the get headline method that got us also only the first entries for 0 and 1. And today we want to take a look on how we can test the second method that we have here, the get questions and answers. How do we do that at the moment? So how does the service works? We go to our Google Drive. I'll quickly check if we directly come into the right one. So and inside of this Google Drive, we have, this is the wrong account, this guy. So, and inside of this Google Drive, we have this Flashcard App folder. And inside of here, we have our, let's call them lessons or courses that we want to provide. And in each of them, we have multiple files. Sorry, I'll turn on my phone now. So, and inside of this, we have multiple Google Sheets. And the idea is that we as a user have now the possibility to select these Google Sheets inside of our app. And then we get the hints on the left side and on the right side, the answers. And depending on what side we are, we read that in our app. So if I add something here, and everyone from us can do that, then the idea is that, for example, we have Abend, which is evening. And if we take that now, we can see if I start up our application, we read the information from the Google Sheet. And with that, we show our different cards. So let's get him a second. In the meantime, I open the chat again. Good evening, Techno. Nice. Long time no see. How can I make my text resizable in Tab Web Mob? How can I make my text resizable in Tab? So if you tab something, you want to resize the font, or how exactly do you think you want to do that, Mohammed? And now we can see the card, the first one has already German. This is our hint that we want to give. And down here we have Abend, which is our card itself. So if I tap now, we get the English translation. So that is always a one-to-one relation, like Abend is evening, Fahrrad is bicycle. We could also call this part here question and answer, so that we have the right headline. So this is German, this is English, and with that we can train. So if you want to help, for example, you could jump now into the spreadsheet via the link. I maybe paste that once more in our channel here. Like if I go to YouTube, of course I don't have the chat open. Let's see if I find it directly. Nope. Here we go. Fair enough. And I paste it here. So if you go there and you add, for example, something into it, we directly will see it in our app. So we can work a little bit together on that. So if you have, for example, good ideas, what lessons you want to create, for example, for Flutter, we will have widgets as the first lecture and so on and so forth. And at the moment, this is pretty static. We only access one file. So we come directly into the app, and the first thing happens is that the very first top file is selected. So at the moment, we always select, as far as I know, by ID, this flashcard here. So Learn English is the only one that we directly access. Okay, that's not really helpful. So the idea is in the future that we don't only select this one, but we can make it possible that every folder inside of here is possible to receive from the application itself. So how can we, but before we do that, we first have to finish the tests from the last time where we not have been done yet. And the link to the repository you will find also in the GitHub, in the description below. And there we have at the moment a merge request open, what we have done the last time. And if we remember, the last thing we did yesterday was fixing our build pipeline so that our tests and our analyzer is running. Cool. So that was the whole introduction with everything we did in the last 5 days. So I hope I could bring you a little bit up to speed. And now let's head into code and write some points here. So as I said, we want to fix or first start with testing the get questions and answers part. And if we remember, we can run our tests with coverage. What does that mean? Our tests will be shown thanks to a plugin that we use. We see which lines of code has been run the test through. So this one has been hit 5 times by a test. And that's pretty awesome. And the package that I use for that is the, where is it? Plugins. The package that I use for that is the Flutter enhancement suite from Marius Höfler. And with this, you have the possibilities to make these coverage data visible inside of the Dart code, which I highly recommend if you write a lot of tests. So for us, our goal for now is to first start with this one. So we need to mock our sheet repo again, get any entries, and this should return and list with null so that we can throw this unsupported error. And we did that already for the get headline, so we can do nearly the same thing. So what did we do to get this unsupported error? Exactly this test. So we can copy that over, bring that down here, pass it here inside. And instead of calling now the subject get headline, we call questions and answers. So, and if we do that, the same error should happen. And with that, we should test it already the first couple lines. Okay, so we got an error. So missing stub error is here inside. We got that. Because the call that we make is a different one. At the moment, our Mockito thinks that we call A1 colon B1. But actually what we call is A2 to B1000. So we can replace that here. And if we run it again, now it should be green. We add it to the active suit. And with that, we should see now. Sadly, this didn't work again. So why is that the case? Let me quickly try again. So run with coverage. And there are multiple ways. We can replace the active suits from the code coverage in IntelliJ, or we can edit. We edited it, but that didn't work. So let's try to replace it this time. And also this unfortunately don't work. So that's of course a bit unfortunate. That's a really good question. Why does that not work? If you have any ideas, please let me know, because I'm a big fan of these coverage information visibilities. Let's have a look once more in the coverage reports that we get usually from show coverage data. And this one is pretty new. Show selected. Nope. Is not happy with it. Oh well. But the next point that we can do is we want to create multiple things whenever this part returns us more than one entry. So if it is empty, we shouldn't show anything. And now we can do some tests surrounding that. So for example, what are the things that could happen inside of our map entry? So when we make this call, what are variable information that we could get? So and now we have to think as a tester, what would be a possible value? So for example, we tried already the last time that when I'm entering, for example, morning, hey, our first contributor, thank you. So for example, if I'm here in A10 and add here something new, so something, that would be in German etwas, something. So if we have here empty spaces in between, these empty spaces get returned with empty entries. And this we fixed by calling, if we go to our runner, inside of our for loop, we called always continue if the element is empty. So now we have to do the same thing. We have to test that this thing is at least called once. So how can we do that in our test? We can give some invocations, and one of these elements in between is empty. And now we can have, for example, real translations like German, Deutsch, German. Or we have Fahrrad to bicycle. Bicycle. Like that. Good. So it's a little bit reddish at the moment, so we have to understand why. I think there is something missing. Good. And here is also a string missing. Good. So, and the result that we expect is actually a list, not just a map entry. We receive a map back with string to string, which is our result if we call get questions and answers. And the reason is we expect now to get at least only 2 entries, where the first one is Deutsch and German and the second one is Fahrrad and bicycle. So how to do that? We first expect something. We expect that result length is exactly 2. So we don't want to have this empty entry in between. It's not important for us. We don't need that. So if we run that tests already, rerun, then with a bit of luck, yep, that was already running through. There are no questions nor answers is the question the unsupported operation, which seems to be a problem. On the other side, if we call that, we don't return anything still. So this sub is still active, so we have to replace that here. Good, so that was already a successful. The reason for that is we fixed that already on the way. So with the knowledge that we have with this map creation and that we did all of that, we know already that it worked. Somehow now also works this hits by that, but it's still an old one. Yeah, it's a bit off with the coverage support. Not sure here. Okay, so we have this length of 2. Can we make it a bit hardening that we know that this test is really correct? So yes, we can. We can ask for the result entries, and we ask for the second one, and this one needs to have a value. Wait, we get the entries, and we have the first and this one, and then does an entry not deliver? Ah, no, that is of course a text in that case and should be no entries. Entries is an iterable of it's an iterable. Okay, length is not empty to string. Values, and what we want as values should be German and bicycle. Like that. Because we get this one, and both of them are the values. Let's run the tests again. And all of them are green, which is a good sign. So let's try to run them again with coverage, and let's see if it this time takes it into account. No, unfortunately not. Maybe if I close that file and open it again? No. Okay, sad. But we know now that this one is tested. We know now this part is tested. We could try to test also this one. So if the columns are unequal to the length of 2, so for example, we would have here only one gut, and we would forget the English translation. We don't throw an error at the moment. But we can try to test that too. And then we have questions and answers, put if absent, and this is also tested with our current run. So we know now when we provide 2 entries with an empty space between, then we return a map with 2 entries. So some of you know maybe also the should possibility, so that there should do something. That is also perfectly fine to create as a test naming convention. Good. Any questions so far to the tests, besides of why the things are not running? That is really odd. Can I... nah, I don't want to invalidate the cache. That could take some time, so I don't want to invest too much. But we know now that this is tested. Now this one could be also tested if we create the same test, more or less. Let's take the first test in this case. We use this one. Good. And what we say is if this test is running and with the same entries, and we don't return null, but we return this array. And besides of 2, we only return now one of them. So we remove that and this. So, and this should lead to an unsupported error. And if we run that again, we have also tested the next possibility. So this part is also tested now. Yeah, so the unsupported error has been thrown, so all is good. Now we just have to change the naming here. So when we return only one value, or if we return a map entry with one element, then an unsupported error is thrown. Good. Okay, so we have already that. We've written our tests, and I think these tests will help us already to keep our information clean. So tests, read from Google Sheets is supported. Good. Is something missing? We have that now. We have this possibility. Oh, hey. And with that, we have already our first possibilities. One thing I need... Yeah. So the next to do that we would try to do now after we have fixed the tests would be the navigation system. We need to give our users, at least if we want to be an MVP, like the minimal viable product, we want to give him at least a simple possibility to navigate through the folders and files. And other than our flashcard service at the moment directly reads from the Google Sheet service. So we have this flashcard service which reads from the Sheets repo. And the Sheet repo at the moment targets exact IDs for the sheets. So what we will have to change is this needs to be a dependency and needs to come from somewhere else. And then we have to read somehow the different drive information, like folders, structures, files, and so on and so forth. And that's going to be interesting now. Because at the moment we thought everything inside of Sheets, but now the Drive API comes into play. So, how to start with that? The first part is to go to the Google APIs page again. So we have the pub.dev file there, Google APIs. And here inside we knew that there is, what was it? We have Drive. Exactly. So we use the Drive API 3.3. And if we check the API details, we get some infos here. Manages files in Drive, including upload, downloading, searching, detecting changes, and updating sharing permissions. Okay. Then there is a developers.google.com, so this one could be interesting for future things like Picker API. Embedded file manager widget in your web app. So maybe we have something like that, a Google Picker. Yeah, but unfortunately this is not in a programming language that we can directly copy. But maybe... So that would be one option, right? So that we show in our application a picker, that the user can directly use the picker from there. And because everything will be in the right format, everything should work perfectly fine. The Drive file scope, Implement the picker callback. Picker callback, filter specified. So Google Picker Builder. Hey David, nice. Thank you for the subscription. So files, resources, do we have something in common? Delete, empty trash, generate ID, okay. changes, channels, comments, drives. We have to create, delete, creates a new share drive. Nah, that's too much. Files. Copy, create, delete, empty trash, generate IDs, get, list. Lists or searches files. Replies, permissions, changes. Create an instance of Drive API to access these resources. Gets information about the user's drive and system capability. So changes. So you see already, unfortunately, the whole APIs maybe are good documented, but it's quite challenging because it's so big. So the environment of the Google development things are pretty large. So whenever there are a lot of questions that come always with it. So let's have a look if we find something. So Google Picker example. Developer key, load picker. Hey. What was that? Thank you for the subscription, Isaru. Oder Izuru. So picker callback. Then we have that. Create and render a picker object. But what is the create picker view? Google picker view. We don't have something like that. Team drives, revisions, replies. So at the moment I would try the files resources and take a look at what we get back from here. So we get a list of files, watch we can call, but we don't want to subscribe to anything. Create copy. Gets files, metadata or content by ID. How does the Drive 2.0 version look like? Is there anything different? Files, Drive, replies, channel children resource. Lists of folders, children. Do we have that also in the v3? No, sadly not. So view documentation, top task, upload file, download file, search for files and folders. Use the files list method to search for files and folders on the current user's drive without any parameter to return all files and folders. Okay, it returns both files and folders. Okay. So I think our magical button comes again into play. If you remember, we had here a fourth button, looked like an ice cone, and this one was necessary whenever we wanted to test some click event, so if something happened. And what I want to do is just get an idea on how we receive the files here. So should it be part of the sheet repo? I think not necessarily, because it has too many knowledge then from these informations. But we initialize already everything with the registered HTTP client. So for now, I will keep it here inside. Maybe we'll have to change that in the future. Okay, so we have any kind of call like get files that we want to do. We don't have any questions here, so we don't give anything inside. We need to wait for init, because if we don't know if the client is already existent that we need. So final client is going to be impacted in the APIs. And what we can do now is asking the Drive API for anything. So in our case, we wanted to ask for the files. So what do we get here actually? Empty trash, delete, we have a get, but we want to call for list, right? So, and also here I can pass, wow, a lot of things like corpora, corpus, drive ID, including items from all drives. This needs a drive ID, So MIME type Java, okay. Files, result, drive service, files, list, set queue, set space, set fields, execute. Okay. So it directly got everything. It doesn't need it to provide anything. So we can try the same thing. So if we get this list and don't pass anything inside, so we want to get a result. Final result equals await for this files list. And then we just print the result. And now we do it like the last time, even though we know that this one does not return anything. But even though that it cannot stay like that till the end, we want just to have something in the UI that we can tap to just check how it works. So we will copy this icon button. Inside of here we will have a basic onPressed method, and we need a fancy icon. Do you have some good ideas for icons? Should we take our AC unit again? So we can click, for example, or do we have something for Drive? I think that would be cool. Yeah, here a file, something like that. So it's just our demo clicker, and inside of here we now want to access the new service, the old service, our sheet repo. Could we directly create that? I think we could. Yeah, perfect. So that works. We give it a fancy name like T, and then we call our get entries, get files method. And we await for that, of course. Get files. Why is it red? Probably I have to pass in something. No. This expression has type void, so its value can't be used. That's, we cannot await for it. That's the reason. Okay, fair enough. But what I want to do is make a breakpoint here. And now what I do is I run our application not in the normal run mode. I will run it in the debugger mode. Can take a while, but the benefit here is that we can then directly see what happens with the result and how the files are looking. And with that we can have a little bit more access to it. Oops. Aha. Here we got our info, and now you see this perfectly little nice file folder icon. And if I press it, we hopefully jump here inside. Yep, that worked. So we got in the result something. And I use always down here the debug window, because here I have a little bit more overview. And as you can see, we have a result with an items growable list of 5. So what do we see? Files, doc, spreadsheet. A lot of alternate links. We have capabilities. We have created dates. Embedded links. Okay, e-tags. Icon link, ID. Aha, we have the ID. So, but why do we have so many of them? Docs, spreadsheet. So this is a spreadsheet. This is a folder. Some of them are folders and some of them are files. Even though that. So can we filter that somehow by folders? Is that possible? Owned by me, owners, parents. So we have a parent folder. Okay, self-link, title learning English, okay. But how do I know now that this is a folder? Is it really the only way that I search for this naming? Kind drive file, okay. So this is a file in that case. So which one was a folder? No, it was a folder. So let us copy the value quickly and check in our... So this is this folder here. So learning English, this is this folder. So why? How do I understand that this is a folder? It needs to have something that is specific, I guess. At least I would expect that. Can add children, null, 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 null. Can copy, null, null, null. Can edit true. Nope. Create date, default. Editable, okay. Null, 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 null. Hidden, false, modified, null, restricted, false, viewed. That is me. Owners, parents, parent reference. These are just the files where they live. Self-link, shareable, shared. No. Okay, that's actually pretty weird. So here we have a spreadsheet. Are you somehow specific? Do you have some ideas? File Excel file size? No, it's also just a file. Labels, okay. MIME type. Ah, maybe the MIME type is a thing. Did this one had a MIME type? MIME type. Aha, the MIME type got a folder. Hello Summit, nice to see you. Long time no see. Oh, I think my music is a bit too loud. Could that be? Turn that a bit down. Okay, so we have the MIME type, and this MIME type tells me if it is a folder or if it is a file. So that's something. Then with that, we can create some kind of hierarchy. Self-link, share link, growable spaces. So if this is a folder, do we have also all the children inside of it? That would be a good question. We have spaces, we have title Flashcard App. Oh, on the other side, do I actually need all the folders? Yeah, it would be better, I guess, to have the beforehand. But what we also could do is make it just a list where we list all the spreadsheets for the first time. And then later do something more complicated like getting all the folders. So, perfect. To make it short, we got already all the information. So this little file and this little example helped us already to understand how this API works. Okay, but now we cannot do that here inside, right? We actually don't want that. Because if we open up the home page, we already want to know. So the home page is our quiz or a flashcard screen, more or less. And we want now to have a screen beforehand to get all the different informations, like which spreadsheet should be open. So what we can do is calling here the spreadsheet selector or flashcard selector, quiz selector, lesson selector, something like that. Screen.dart. And inside of here, we first start with a stateless widget as always and call that lesson selector screen. No, not screenshots, like screen. And we have to import material. And in the meantime, I forgot again to install the key drawer. So with that, you can see my keywords that I enter. So it makes it a bit easier to follow, especially if I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. Okay. So now we have that widget, that lesson selector screen. And here we want now to write some to-dos for us now. So first, collect the spreadsheets we can access. When will I cover getX? Actually, it's not planned yet, Harsh, because getX is not one of my favorite packages because I think it's too large. So getX is always on my, yeah, I should do a video for that. But I think Tadas Petra created one and he was very happy and successful with it. So probably you have to ask him. But it's nothing that I would believe in personally, and I would not recommend it for a project. So that's why I don't cover it so far. At least not if they don't pay me. Yeah. So. Good. Yeah, we have to collect the spreadsheet that we can access. After that, if we have that collected, then we want to show a list of, the list of the spreadsheet names. And after we show the list, we want to make it pressable. Press on the list and navigate to the homepage screen. So that would be our way. And after that, we have navigated to our homepage screen. It would be even awesome if we then also directly show the correct cards. Show the correct cards on the homepage screen. Okay, so this is what we want to achieve. We collect our spreadsheets that we can access. So as you remember, we have this Flashcard App, a folder that is shared with everyone down in the video description. And we have this flash information here with the hints and also the answers. And as soon as you enter here something, we want to make it available in our app. So, and the idea is at the moment to read all the spreadsheets that we find, so all of them, and we can select one of them and then we navigate to the home screen and the flashcard starts more or less. Okay, so what we will do, we can maybe start by creating some kind of model, like I would do that. So we have like class file information. And this class file information will have a name, string, probably final. And this is of course TypeScript. Sorry, so many programming languages I cover at the moment. So final name, that would be the file name that we have. After that, we would have the string, and this would be the link to the spreadsheet, link to, so like the URL, because it can be later also different things. And I think that's already everything that we need. Maybe we could also add the MIME type here inside, but I'm not even sure if we need it that heavily. So we can add a constructor for that and everything should be fine. So what we want here inside, just as a mock, we don't want to get the data already correctly. We will create a service for that later. We will have some kind of final list of these file information. So this is our goal at the end. And we want to have them as files. And these file information should be, for example, lesson 1 English. And then as a URL, it will get the URL to this spreadsheet. Open it up like that. So, and I think we don't need the URL. It would be enough to have this ID, spreadsheet ID. So, remove everything. So this spreadsheet ID, which brings me to the point that this is not a URL. It's the spreadsheet or the file ID. Takes surprisingly long. Yeah, file ID or short ID, because we are already in the file information. Good. So why is that not working? Good. So, and that would be the first file information that we have. And the second one should be nearly the same, but the file name is different. We would have the flashcard learning Flutter, this one. So it would be this flashcard ID, like so. Up, and we replace that. Is that slash part of it, or did I make a copy mistake? Made a copy mistake, of course, so go away. And the name of the file is also Lection 1 widgets. Good. So, with that in place, we know already, okay, if we select one of them, then we can work with that. So this is of course not a const anymore. And now in the build method, we want now to create with these information that we have a list viewer. If you don't, or if you have never created a list view builder, then we do that now together. So we have list view as a class, and this will create a list for us. And it needs some information, and it has a fantastic constructor like separated and builder. I will now use a separated. That means I want to have a line of information, a separation, a line of information. The cool thing is this list view separated creates us lazy loaded lists. That being said is that we don't have to care if we show too many information, because Flutter will directly take care for us about these problems. So I create some parts, and we want to take the files.length. So, and as I said, this all is a little bit MVP-like, so we just want to release something at the end. And as you remember, we talk about builders here. So the first thing is an item builder. A builder in Flutter always contains the context in any kind of way. In this specific place, item builder, we get also an index with it. The same behaves for the separator builder. Also this one gets a context, but also an index. So we can define, for example, we want a separation for the first element, but not for the second, or every third element should not get a separator. Okay, so in the item builder, we want now to return something. And we want to return a list tile. A list tile is already a predefined element that we can use to make our list pretty good visible for everything. So, and we want to have a title, which is our, how can we do that now? Files index dot name. And when we click on it, we want to show some kind of trailing element, so something that is behind of it. And we want to show an icon, icons dot arrow right. We have a right arrow, left, up, down, and right. Maybe something like this, so that we make our users clear that it's clickable on any kind. So, and we give it an onPressed method, onTap method, okay, an onTap method, and inside of here we don't do anything. I just want to give it inside. And this title needs a text widget. So what we can do is, thanks to IntelliJ, we can wrap it immediately in a text widget. Fair enough. Just a reload. You always make dynamic type. Where? Up here? That's not always a good idea. Or at least it's never a good idea, actually. The downside is that you never really know what is inside of this list. So I would give you the hint to really understand why you need a type here. That improves a lot of your coding styles and makes it easier to understand in the future. Promise you that. So, and whenever we come to the separator, we want to return something. And there is, I think, a line separator. Is it separator? There is a good widget name for it that I always forget. Separator? Is it not, right? No, it's different. Divider? Divider. Of course it's the divider. But harsh, I was in the beginning also that way. So when you try and work with it, after some time it's getting into your blood, and then it's easier to understand these typings everywhere. So it makes a lot of sense sooner or later. But I know your struggles. Good. So now at the moment we cannot see it because we always navigate to the home page in the beginning. So let's head over to the main.dart and replace our home page with the new selector. So it's not a const anymore. So hot reload will fail at some parts. Restart. And let's see where we come to. So no material widget found. Okay, this is a typical mistake. If I do something, I don't wrap my main widget here with something that is material. So one solution would be that I call here a material widget. The downside of doing something like that is we get the lessons. It looks already pretty good. But the disadvantage is, well, we want our scaffold, right? So we want to have a scaffold, and here instead of child we have a body. Hey, Batuhan. Sorry, still I'm trying to learn the pronunciation of the names. Hope you are well today. Good. And with all of that, we have now the types. We implemented that. We have the trailing, and with our scaffold, if I hot restart, yeah, we should get a scaffold. Ah, yeah, of course, but there is an app bar missing. So we need an app bar, which tells us something. So select with, what does the text bar has? A title where text is inside, like select your lesson, something like that. So you see already I'm absolutely mad with words and how to name things and things like that. So if you have better options, always let me know. But now we have this nice little app bar. We can select our different values, and as you can see, thanks to the list tile and the on tap that I added to it, we can already see that something is selected when I hover with the mouse over it. That comes from Flutter itself. I don't have to implement anything for that. And if I tap it now, I want to print from the file's index the ID. It's not much, but I just want to verify that it works correctly. So if I should get always different ones. Hey Samuel! Nice to see you here. I had a long downtime, so how are you doing? Is Truffy still alive? I got your t-shirts, which are amazing. I showed them. I have also the stickers somewhere. Got there. So I'm still pretty proud to be part of the Truffy organization sometimes. So whenever I can help again, let me know. I hope you managed it to finish the project and everything went well. Okay, so we have now the lesson selector screen. We have that running, and let's have a look. What did we want to do? We wanted to navigate, right? So what we want to start, we can now start by getting this information from our service. Show a list of the spreadsheet names. I think that we can remove that already. Press on the list and navigate to the homepage screen. That's need to be done too. And show the correct cards on the homepage screen. I think this is that part here. One very interesting question would be now, does it work already? So if I go here and learning English and create a new lesson, like creating a new sheet. So lesson 2. Fun and hike, don't know, something like that. We have again German and English. Fun, Spaß, opposite. And hike is still opposite. Wandern. So if I look into that, and we have now created that, it's saved automatically. It's, as I said, it's shared with you, so we should all see now the same things. And if I make a hot restart, or even a hot reload, no hot restart in this case. Ah no, we don't see that, of course, because we don't get it inside. I'm pretty sure that Truffy will be alive for a long time. I mean, you were pretty successful with the last thing, and I talked with some of my colleagues at Sono Motors, and they were pretty happy with, I think they talked also with Herrenberg, and it was very interesting. And I think there are more projects to come, or not. So we have that, printed the ID, got all that. So, but now let's get the information that we need. So as I told you in also the last video, we have 3 different layers, right? The domain, the repository, and the UI. And only the UI is only allowed to talk with the domain layer in our case. And in order to get now these files, we need some kind of new service like, I don't know, we could call it file service, which I don't like. It has nothing to do with the flashcards itself. So it is more related to files and Google Cloud. What is my opinion on tools like Flutterflow that makes it easier to build screens so you just focus on the logic part in the app? No worries, fruit. So let's have a look. I know Flutterflow. I also talked with them once. They are a pretty cool startup, and I think a lot of them are sprinkling everywhere at the moment. What do I think about them? Well, they are pretty cool to create your first ideas down, and they work pretty well. I also got one from the App Store from, what was his name? Can't get it together at the moment. But he had like widget something. Maybe I find it directly. No, unfortunately not. But yeah, these are these click tools. And actually it's interesting that this idea is always interesting for companies and also startups, because they want to be as fast as possible. But the thing is, the UI part is usually not really the heavy lifting. To get these icons inside of something, it's not really difficult. It's of course easier with such a tool, and also complicated views can be done with that. But I think it's always, it gives you the idea that everything is super easy to do. But as soon as you started and doing something, you sooner or later feel, okay, I still need some coding experience. The things are getting better and better, of course. And as you see, there are also a lot of people who are using these tools. And I think to create an easy app, it is always worth it. And I don't know the pricing, but I think they are pretty, oh, wow, they are pretty expensive. UI builder, Firebase integration, preview mode. So I don't have a big clue about them, to be honest. I don't know how good they have become. In the former times, they were good enough to create some basics, but I don't see the much benefit, so it doesn't cost me a lot of time to create such a screen. It is more the logic that still keeps me awake in the night, more or less. But I can imagine that if these things are getting better, especially with the payment services, why not? If you have the money and you can invest some time in it, try it out, and if it doesn't work for you, skip it. I think they have like this free plan for the beginning, right? So you can all, of course, try it. Order to download core or build APKs. Okay. So you can play around with it for free, and if you want to release something, you have to buy it then. Interesting. As I said, personally not my kind of boat, because I try to understand everything from a programming language. But I can imagine that this stuff is interesting, especially for companies. Sure. Good. As long as you are productive, right? That's the most important thing. Yeah, the biggest issue with React Native is actually that they try to use CSS, which is not CSS, which is a real bummer. If they would use real CSS, everything would be fine, but they have their own rendering engine that uses some kind of CSS syntax and does then some crazy stuff under the hood, which leads to sometimes to very interesting bugs and issues. So I can imagine what your problem is with that area. Okay, so in the domain area, we wanted to create some service, and I'm not yet completely sure how we call that. So like files and folder service, or yeah, let's call it file service for now, and then we can still improve it. So this file service is a class, file service, which wants to give me, I want to get a list of file information. So this is the idea. And this list of files is empty at the moment. And this one could be imported, but we have to put that here in the folder. So we have file information, start. So And from our screen, we created this model and I move it up here and we import it from there just to keep the logic where it belongs. And this is a domain logic thing, so we get it from here. Good, so you are happy, you are not so happy. But I did not know that there are good React Native builders actually. So if Flutter Flow, is there anything like React Flow? Maybe a weird question. So we get the files here, or this is what we actually want to get. So in order to do that is we want to get spreadsheet files. Or get possible lections, or the lectures. So these get possible lectures will return us these empty list at the moment. This can be done. So, and from our client, so from here, we want to call that. This is a stateless widget at the moment. Can it stay a stateless widget? What we can do is, instead of doing this, we want to wrap our list view separated with a so-called future builder. Future builder. So, and inside of this future builder, we have two things. We have a so-called future. This future will be our method that we created seconds before. And it has a builder function. And this builder function gets a context and a so-called snapshot. And we do the same thing again. So get that. And now we have to pass inside this list view separated things that we created beforehand and put it inside of the builder and return it for now. So this future here is now the future that we want to call. In our file service, this one will be a future of this list. So, because this one is not async, so now it's happy. So, and the reason I do that is we want to make a network request, which will be anyway asynchronous. And the good thing is, if we use this future builder, we get some cool benefits that I will show you in a second. So first of all, we need to clarify that there is some service, right? We need to have the service. And the service will be, in our case, the files service that we also import. Service equals files service. Did I rename that differently? I usually file service, no, it's correct. Plural, okay. Good, so we import that. Hey Deepak, hope you are well and had a great start in the day or even an ending of the day. So I rename that to file service. Search is too long today. I don't know what that is. Service refactor. Thank you. So, and we know that this file service is there, but we need also our future. And we want to have not this anymore final. We want to have a future of this list with file informations. And we can remove all of that besides of get files or get possible lectures. And this here is our future. Now we have to think quickly, what do we receive actually here? So we want to get our file service running and ask for this get possible lectures. So as you see now, we get some problems. We cannot access this file service if we don't have something that we where we can use this method. So we have to change that to a stateful widget in this case. And we want to have an init state method. And we want to pass in this part inside of here. So we take our get possible lectures and pass inside this service call. So here inside we have now an unfulfilled future late. So, and thanks that we know that, we can now pass that inside of here. And the reason I'm doing this so complex with putting that up here and creating this late and getting an init state is because if we would put the future here inside, we would call it all the way long because, or at least whenever we make a hot restart and no, hot reload. And because I don't want to call it every hot reload by only hot restarts, I put it with these things around here. So now we have these files down here with index and the snapshot. This future builder gets a T inside. T is a generic and we can specify what will be returned from this future builder. And I shall show you now how. So we know that this get possible lectures will return us a future of list information. So we take this information and pass it inside of this future builder. So now a little bit complaining comes because it tells us the default list constructor isn't available when null safety is enabled. Okay. The name future isn't defined. What happened now? Something is, here's a tag missing. So now it's getting a little bit greener again because this snapshot has a type and it has the type async snapshot. And now if we take a look into this builder function, we can see it is an async builder widget, which receives a T. So it's an async snapshot of the T that we passed above into the future builder. That's a little bit complicated to understand in the beginning, these generics, but they are so useful, especially in these situations. Now we know that this snapshot can contain data, and these data has to be part of a list. So now we know possible lectures are the snapshot.data. And we know even more. We know that if there are no data, if the snapshot has data, then we can do things like that. We can ask for this and we can create these list view here and put it all inside here. And now, of course, we call for files, but these are all the possible lectures everywhere. So, but we should be able to access it everywhere correctly. It could be null, so the snapshot data could be null. Yes. So what we have to check is if snapshot data null, then return, I don't know, a container maybe. So something very basic. Okay, and what is a complaint here? The property length can't be unconditional access because the receiver can be null. I could make it a null check, but I'm a bit confused because I would say if this is the builder, yeah, we do that in a second. If this is the if state and it is part of here, then this should be actually now happy with that snapshot data thing. But maybe I have to check this one, not the other one. Yeah, better. Okay. So we have to check the variable instead of the snapshot data. But you saw already this one is red. And the reason is, well, we return nothing if nothing is inside. So if there is no data, then we return at the moment as circular, the name, circular progress indicator. And then we have even one more option, and that is if the snapshot has an error. So that means whenever there comes something that we don't expect yet. So then we just return a container with a text inside, or even without a text container, just a text, something wrong happened. So of course we can be more specific in the future, but this is like what we do as a easiest way of doing it. So when we have the data from this list information, then everything is good, else we get some problems. So what is here the prop? Okay, we can make that const. And we call this method, we get it from here, and here we receive at the moment an empty array. Not so good, right? At the moment, we have the knowledge that our sheet repository will return us the information that we need. So what we can do is asking our sheet repo. I can make that like this. Create a new one. So this is not perfect, everything, because we create now multiple sheet repositories, even though that we have it on 2 places registered. So here comes now slowly the place where I start with the dependency injection, or where we can start with thinking about state management. Okay, but in our case, that's all good still. So, whoa, what is that? Our flashcard project crashed. Whoa, okay. MacBook Pro crashed. Any reason? Have a glass of water, you're right. And I don't have one. Oh well, we do it later. But thank you, Deepak. Okay, so somehow the UI crashed. I think that was a bit unexpected. But we got our sheet repo. And here we have again to-dos. First, read the values from the repository, exactly. After that, we want to map the information that we receive from the repo, which is usually an entity information, map information to something the UI understands. Hey Peace, great to see you again. Hope you are well. Nice to see old faces every time. So we have our information to something UI understands, and then we return everything. Good. So if we get that running, read the values from the repository, map information to something UI understands, and return everything, that would be amazing. So for that, we take our sheet repo, get possible lectures, we call it get files, which does not return anything yet. So there is our next step. So we want to get all files. So what I would like to do is filter that by the MIME type. And what we can do is result dot, I think filter is the, no, where is the term in Dart? Where is it? Files list items incomplete next self link. Ah, we need to know. What did we print it beforehand? No, I forgot that. We printed the result, and I thought in the result there was already incomplete search items, next link, next page shogun. Ah, interesting. Hey Ahmed, nice to see you. Al-Shak-Kahiki. Wow, names crazy. So, and then if I, now I'm going into guesswork, but what I will do now is we have this, we call that here. And as you remember, I have the debug mode. It's not easy for me. So if I restart the app with the debug mode, we should jump now into the oh no, a new version of Flutter. I knew it. I knew that day would come. So Flutter Upgrade. So I'm currently on stable channel, so hopefully everything still works afterwards. If not, you know, the Flutter team is the problem, not me. So as you see, I'm usually not afraid of making upgrades, even though I have to downgrade later. So that's why I have FVM installed, a fantastic package that helps you with these kind of stuff. The only downside, it takes always some time. What is the newest version of Flutter? GitHub. Used contributors, used by. Is there not usually something? Ah, here tags. So what is new? Flutter stable 2.5.2 framework cherry pick. Set build deal when determined if plugins support for ARM64. Update engine. Okay. Why I don't use FVM here? That's a very good question. The reason I don't do it is actually a very easy one. I have always problems in setting up the whole thing. I only use it if I have to, and if I have, for example, a team that shares the Flutter version in the GitHub repository. And because I don't fixate at the moment the Flutter versions for this project, I can also use this default installed by Git from my side, and I can just upgrade it directly, and the path variable stays the same. Also on my other computer, I work with Oh My God CSH. I don't know even if the name is correct. Oh My God CSH, I think, which I can highly recommend you if you are working with terminals and so on. And I really like it. I really enjoy to use it because you can see the branch that you are working on. You see the versions that you are on. There is a Flutter package and plugin and themes, and it's crazy. Really, I can highly recommend it, especially if you also use the Star. Do I have the name? Starbase terminal? Starship terminal? I'm not sure anymore. There is a terminal or Starship. Cross shell prompt. I think this one. There is a theme for this Oh My God thing. And if you use it, then you have cool stuff like, for example, seeing how many seconds you use to execute a method or something. So maybe we make a live stream for that topic, and then we make some coding shell experiences things, and then we can talk about that. Okay, but in the meantime, Flutter Upgrade was successful with 2.5.2 with our newest infos, and now if I select the right device again, we should be able to run. Proud people with names of hard pronouncing names, and then I'm coming with max 3 letters, you know? It's not even like someone tried that I have some difficult names. So, Flashcard project is opening up and we run directly to our breakpoint. Fantastic. Which is a file list. So that's good. And there are items inside. So we want to go through the items. And here we check for the where condition. And here we get the element, and what I want is if the element dot, and we have the MIME type, dot contains, and here inside we want to have, if the MIME type contains, element MIME types contains exactly file. So I'm not sure if it's file or file. So let's have a look into the debugger. 5, so result, make that a bit larger. Items, files, I think there was the MIME type. Spreadsheet is it even? Oh, that's even easier. So we contains spreadsheet. So contains spreadsheet. Good. And I think that should work already. So contains seems to have a problem here. Let's run it through first. So cancel. So where can't be unconditionally invoked because of null, of course. So if result equals to null, throw unsupported error, or yeah, unsupported error, no files found. No, why is it complaining? Receiver can be null. Okay, put that up. I think maybe that is working. Yeah, great. Okay, there are new questions. Is there a way to sync dependency? I'm currently in dependency hell. I can imagine it is a pain to have a lot of dependencies and need to upgrade specific ones. What I can recommend you is if you go to the pubspec.yaml in this project, we don't have these problems, I guess, but you can go to pub outdated. And if you let that run, we can have a look here. And you can see these transitive dependencies that are not the dependencies I relied on, but other packages are related on them. But just to give you a hint on how I usually proceed here, usually I have that in direct dependencies or dev dependencies. And then you can see the first one is the package version you are on. The second one is where you can upgrade to without any breaking changes. The third one is where it is resolvable, so that can be done by itself. And the last one is the latest version, so the latest version that is currently running. So and what you can then try is to upgrade some of them to the latest dependency version and have to check, is it still possible? Are there other packages that are rely on them? Which package destroys which package? And the funniest thing is always if the Flutter SDK package depends on a Flutter test version on some kind, and a package that depends on that has then the problem. So that takes time. Sorry. Yeah, Cass, hey, thank you for your comment on the video. It was very interesting and insightful. I read it with joy, but I couldn't answer yet. I need to upgrade Flutter HTML from 1.30 to 2.0, but I wish I could add a package that depend on it will automatically upgrade at the least version of supports. This is not how it works, Fruit. You will have to check the GitHub repo of the dependency that you want to upgrade. So in your part, it's not Flutter HTML, it's the other one. So probably if you would have the dependent one. But if we check Flutter HTML and have a look into it, then we can see more. Can we see also packages that depend on Flutter HTML? So all these packages are depend on it. And then you have to be lucky that the one who has this package, so for example, this EPUB view in the repository will start to depend or help you with the version here. And it could be that sometimes there is already something, so a pull request like bumped up the version or something. And if this is not the case, you will have to do it. So you will have to create a fork of this one, and then you have to depend on your fork in the worst case. And maybe you can create a pull request to that project back. But yeah, if the project is gone, so you will be the only one who is maintaining it. I hope that helps. Good luck with your dependency hell. Sorry for that. Good. Back to our problem. So we asked the contains of the MIME type. I'm pretty sure that MIME type exists always, but no. What should I do? What is the problem? The method contains can't be invoked. Receiver can be null. I did that. So why is it red here? Return type bool isn't a boolean as required by the closure. Ah, okay, it could be null. So if we have that, then it's false. So easy. So I could also check it once more or something, but that's fair enough. Okay, so we get our where condition where it is a spreadsheet, and only if it is a spreadsheet, then we return. What do we actually return? So we return the elements itself, right? So return these files. So at the moment, this is reddish because it's not void. So now it's happy, but we have no return type, which is always a bad thing. So these items is a list of file. Really, it's a list of file? So these files are a list of files. File list. List of file. Okay, so you are a list of file. Future, of course. But probably not the file that we have. And I removed the comma, good point. And I think it should be a semicolon, right? A value of type iterable. Ah, okay, it's an iterable, so we have to make it to list. So, fair enough. Good. So now we received that. We check the MIME type for spreadsheet. Thank you, Deepak. And with that, we return the whole thing, and that should be it already. So if we go back here, we get now our list of these file information. So list of file, something like that, right? List dynamic to future, and of course we have to wait for it. And this file comes from this drive version, this one. Okay. So we get these files, we read them, and now we have to map it to something that we want. So map, we get our file, and this one needs to be a file information at the end. So, and file dot, is there a name? Original file name? File size, original file name. Yeah, probably this one. And the ID is file ID. Get that too. Good. And if it's null, then we just return an empty string for each. Good. So, and this one is mapped, and we get a new list of these information, and this is what we can return. And of course, to list. So, I hope I was not too fast, maybe a little. So what we did, besides of the wrong naming here, but what we did is we read the value from the repository. That happens via this get files here. We initialize the service, we read from the driver API the files list that we receive. We check each file, so this is not items, it's files actually, by the MIME type, and if the MIME type contains spreadsheet, then we return it and we get it to a list. So all spreadsheets are inside now. And then we just pass it into the service where we receive again all the files. We map these files into the file information that we had beforehand, and then we make it to a list. Now you could say, hey, why do we map it again in the service? We could say, here's the whole repository data with everything. But the UI should be as dumb as possible. So it should not get all the information. It should only get the information that it really needs, at least in my understanding and my architecture that I create always. So we read the information, we map the information, and we return the things that we needed. And with that, we are pretty ready. So if I restart our application this time, and we did everything right, then now, at this very moment, we should see 3 different... Sure, Mohammed, I will do that. And this double question marks tells us if the left side, if the left side of the expression will be null. So if this is null, then we take this instead. And this is the only thing. So if this value here is null in any case, in any time, then we return an empty string. So that's the idea. And there was an error somehow.